Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. It's a beautiful Monday morning. I hope you have your tea and your coffee because this morning, inside the spotlight on Now, we're chatting about Vaccination Week in the Americas.
Now, Vaccination Week in the Americas is an international commemoration held every year to highlight the essential benefits of being immunized. During the Vaccination Week, countries within the region use the opportunity to promote public access to vaccinations that help protect persons from fatal diseases. And this morning, we're checking in with Minister of Health, Terrence Deyalisngh, and PAHO WHO TNT country representative, Dr. Erica Wheeler, to get more information about this week. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Thank you. Good morning, Kimberly.
Good morning. Now, Minister, I'm going to start off with you first because I would have mentioned, of course, it's Vaccination Week in the Americas. But what's the significance of us in TNT actually commemorating that week?
Yeah, so Kimberly, thank you. And first of all, I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh.
You went to Tobago Jazz and you did not carry me. And I had to hear about all these nice things over the TV. I am very hurt. You and I are good friends. Anyhow, be that as me.
Minister, we're going to talk more of that off air. I don't want people. We're going to handle that off air. Yes, Minister. Continue.
I want the public to know. Right. Vaccination Week, April 24th to April 29th. This year's theme is every vaccine count, get up to date. The importance of vaccines, Kimberly, cannot be overstated as to how many millions and millions of lives it has saved from debilitating disease, from childhood diseases which can kill, which can cripple. The importance of this to Trinidad and Tobago can be seen in the following data. Our last known measles case in Trinidad and Tobago was 1997. That is what? 26 years ago. Our last known case of mumps was 2006. Our last known case of rubella was 1997 again. Yellow fever, last case 1979, and polio 1972. So to members of the public listening in, we have been free of these diseases because we have high rates of vaccination in children. And vaccines have been proven to be safe, effective, and as a prime defense against these harmful diseases. So that is the importance of vaccinations in Trinidad and Tobago, and I dare say in the world at large.
Yeah. Now, Minister, I understand that it's taking place from the 24th, is it, to the 29th? What are some of the activities that the Ministry of Health is doing to commemorate the week?
Yes. So we kick off on Wednesday at the Couva District Hospital. Dr. Wheeler will be there. I will not be there, but Dr. Wheeler will be there. Other activities include outreaches at different public venues. We have one planned for Trin City Mall on Saturday. I will be at that one. But just to let the public know, in addition to Vaccination Week, we continue vaccinating our children 5 days a week at our health centers, regardless of whether it's Vaccination Week or not. And this year, we want to make a special appeal to our migrant population to come in to get vaccinated. For public health reasons, we want our migrant population, regardless of your status in Trinidad and Tobago, we don't care about your migrant status. What we care about is you getting vaccinated against the range of diseases that could affect you. So we are appealing to parents, bring your kids in, if you have lapsed, and also to the migrant population to come in.
Nice. Now, Dr. Wheeler, I'm going to bring you in here because I know that you were very vocal at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of encouraging people to take the vaccine to protect themselves. Can you just give us, some examples of how, or can you reassure the public rather, about the importance of taking the vaccine to get that first level of protection?
I'm sorry, Kimberly, your voice dropped completely and I did not hear most of your question if it was directed at me.
Yes, it was, Dr. Wheeler. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you better now.
Nice. So I was asking if it is any words you can do or any words you can share to let the public know, how safe vaccinations are, especially during this week.
Well, thank you for that really important question, especially now that we've passed the most acute phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. I know the issue of safety is still uppermost in the public's mind. Now, one of the things we in WHO and PAHO need to assure you of is that these vaccines that children and grown-ups have been taking for decades have been proven to be safe and effective. So the procedure for testing vaccines have remained the same for a long time. For example, the minister said when we were talking about vaccines, he listed all the vaccines that we can take, and it is the same for mumps, measles, rubella, diphtheria. There was a recent outbreak of cholera in Haiti that we addressed with vaccines. It's a very vigorous process, which is overseen by the World Health Organization and in countries by their national regulatory authorities, where vaccines, they may start being tested in the lab, but then they're tested on people, starting with tens, then hundreds, then thousands of people for safety, for effectiveness, and for quality, looking at the composition of vaccines, even before they reach a country at the country level. And when vaccines are given to countries, and many countries get vaccines free, especially those who can't afford to buy them, when they reach the countries, they're also monitored. So it's not a case where you have vaccines that are tested for the safety and the quality and the effectiveness. But when they are actually distributed, there is ongoing monitoring of vaccines. And PAHO and WHO, we work very closely with governments, including here in Trinidad and Tobago. We have a very strong program of work on something called SRV, which looks at the effectiveness of vaccines at the country level. So we are very confident as WHO that vaccines that have been administered, and smallpox, for example, has been eradicated since 1980, and there is not a single case of smallpox anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And that is as a result of vaccination. There have been outbreaks of measles across Europe and the USA in 12 countries in 2019. And this is because the rate of vaccines have dropped, and measles can kill. So we have seen through decades of application of vaccines that they are and they continue to be safe and effective and of good quality.
Yeah. Dr. Wheeler, I just have a follow-up question as well. So you did mention that Minister Deyalisngh gave us some stats in terms of how we were able to get rid of certain diseases. But in addition to, eradicating the diseases among the population, are there any more sort of positive impacts that vaccination can have on the population?
Well, because of vaccination, it is the issue of not just protecting yourself, but protecting others. And there's some vaccines, like, for example, tetanus, up to 10 years at a time. So it's when we think of vaccination, just as we did of COVID, we have to think about the benefits, not just to the individual, but to families. It also protects persons who may not be able to take certain types of vaccines. For example, those whose immune systems are compromised, some elderly people who cannot take certain types of vaccines. So it is not just an individual benefit, it is a societal benefit. It is about caring for others in the country which we live, in the families in which we are embedded, in the schools. I mean, particularly for parents, ensuring that your children are immunized so that not only your children do not get affected. And in some cases, as I said, measles can kill, but also other children. So it's both protecting yourself as well as protecting those who are vulnerable and who cannot take certain types of vaccine. So this is something that is very important to remember, and it renders immunity. There are different lengths of time, but as I said, for something like tetanus, it's 10 years, and then after you receive your full doses, you may not need to take a tetanus vaccine for a very long time. So
Yeah.
we have to be conscious, not just of ourselves, but we have to be conscious of how we protect our loved ones, family
Yeah.
members, and the community at large. So the benefit of vaccination redounds to the whole population.
Nice. Minister, I'm going to bring you back in because I also wanted you to drive the point home, if you can, about the importance of vaccination, only because specifically as it relates to the COVID-19 vaccine, as you would know, it is no longer needed to get to certain places. So you can now enter bars, cinemas, that sort of thing. And so the vaccination may have stopped. Any words of advice to get people to be vaccinated, not just against the COVID-19 pandemic, well, the COVID-19 virus, but other viruses as well?
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's a very, very important question that you asked. We are still advising people, and we are still doing it at our health centers. We do roughly about 1,000 doses of COVID vaccines per month now. So we have never stopped giving out COVID vaccines, whether it's your first dose, second dose, or boosters. We also advise people to get vaccinated against influenza. We have given out about 47,000 doses of influenza vaccine, and we've been able this year to stop the transmission of influenza, which started around November of last year. We had about five deaths, but as soon as we got the vaccines and we ramped it up, we were able to stop the transmission. And that is what vaccination does. It stops the transmission and the jumping of these viruses from one individual to another. So as Dr. Wheeler said, I want to reinforce what she said. That's the principle of herd immunity. If you vaccinate enough people in the herd, you also protect yourselves, but you protect that 1 or 2 percentage points who for some reason cannot be vaccinated. So let's boil it down to the household level. If you have a household of 6 people, elderly, people in their 30s, children, and let's say a child, for whatever reasons, allergy, whatever, can't be vaccinated, it is incumbent upon the rest of the herd of that household, the other 5 people, to get vaccinated to protect themselves and protect that little child who cannot, for valid reasons, be vaccinated. And that's the principle of herd immunity.
Yeah.
Enough people of the herd are vaccinated to protect themselves, to protect transmission jumping from one to the other, but also to protect those vulnerable individuals who cannot be vaccinated. And we cannot overemphasize the importance of vaccination as a prime defense against harmful diseases.
Yeah. And Minister, before you go, please allow me to go off course a bit, but I know that last week, Monday and Tuesday, we had that crime symposium and we looked at dealing with crime as a public health concern. I wanted to get your thoughts because I know that your ministry will be working with all the other ministries to see how we can, maintain or contain the crime scourge that we have in this society right now. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot. We started to use the words violence and crime interchangeably during that symposium. If you looked at the name of that symposium, it was Violence as a Public Health Issue, the Crime Challenge. Violence is a behavior pattern that could lead to crime. Crime is when you break the law. So we were going backwards, not looking at crime, but violence, the propensity to violent behavior. What the Ministry of Health did was provide statistics on the effect of the health system of violent crime, whether it is by shootings, by blunt force trauma, and so on. The Honorable Prime Minister would have given the cost of treatment of gunshot wounds over $100,000. So what we'll be doing now is taking all the data and opinions and distill it down to a policy, one of the things that Dr. Robin Sinanan said, and he said this clearly and openly, is that when the men when the men who are either victims or perpetrators of violence come to our A&Es, all we do is patch them out and send them back out. What we may have to do now is link them to care, link them to psychological care, lead them to mental wellness care, so that they don't become repeat offenders as perpetrators of violence, which can lead to criminal behavior.
Yeah, all right. So thank you, Minister, because I know he was also talking about that database as well. So I guess we can see how we can capture that information. So Minister, let me thank you so much for joining us. Of course, Dr. Wheeler, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much and all the best with the Vaccination Week in the Americas. And I look forward to some of the activities that I'm sure we're going to cover. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
And that was Minister of Health, Terrence Deyalisngh, and of course the PAHO WHO TNT representative, Dr. Erica Wheeler, just talking about Vaccination Week in the Americans and the importance, of course, of getting vaccination, particularly at this time. You're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.
And that's why blessings and blessings are falling on me. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Blessings and blessings.